Hey, True Believers England team here with Back Issue Breen himself.
Good evening.
Alrighty. So we're going to be, hopefully we're rekindling the top 10. That's something I've been wanting to do. Had fun doing it with you and Howler Mouse. He is welcome anytime he wants, as well as others. We were doing a live stream though. And this is what sparked it. And we've got to do this. We were doing a live stream where you asked a question and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a great question. Let's do a top 10 on that one. And your question is, what are the stories from the last 10 years that people are going to be talking about? And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So why don't you come up with 5? I'll come up with 5 and we'll see what we come up with. We'll make a top 10 list out of it, and it'll be really easy. I'll do number 5. You do number 5, 4, 4. We talked a little bit about this. Breen does not know my number 1. He does not know which comic book I think everybody's still going to be talking about in 10 years. And I think that I am correct on this. And I think that it's going to drive you crazy. So hello to Eloise Dottle. How you doing? Here's the thing, though. The way that question is asked, it actually puts Squirrel Girl in the running. It's not on my list, but that's why I made it the thumbnail. I'm like, wait a second. If we're talking about the books that people will be talking about later, there's a very possible scenario where Squirrel Girl is one of the most talked about superheroes of the decade.
Okay, we may have come at this from 2 different perspectives.
And that's what might make this a very interesting list to talk about. So that's the thing. When you said that, I didn't think in my head, great story, because there's any number of great stories. You're going to name off a few that I'm sure you thought were going to end up on my list and that deserve it. Some of the ones that I took down off my list is the one that VENKMAN mentioned in that same live stream, which was Batman White Knight. Amazing story. And it may just be one of those that get talked about, but I don't see it being talked about as much. Now, some, because we're doing the 2010s, we're doing modern comics, the 2010s, some have already proven to either have lasting power or just have proven they don't. You know, everybody will tell you, oh my gosh, what's his name? Hickman. Hickman's Fantastic Four run's really great, but is anybody really talking about it? So,
Well, it's, before, like I said, we were talking about before we get started on the list, there was a couple of things that did not make the list. Mm-hmm. Again, yeah, we may be slightly different perspective. We don't want to slight Batman Court of Owls, which is not on the list, because it's a given, and that story was used extensively in the Gotham series. I imagine it will eventually, the Court of Owls will creep into Batman movies going forward.
I had that on my list. It's one of my runner-ups because you've got 5, I've got 5, so I had to whittle it down. So what are the most likely that are going to be talked about? And I think Court of Owls, we've got the Batman movie coming up. If it's good, I think that will push it forward. If it's bad, I think it will kind of squash it, tell you the truth. If the movie is bad, because that's where a lot of talk about comics is coming from. It's not really coming from the narrative. It's not. We're talking about comics, and we're talking about it with Tahilium 29. Good to see you too, and Joe Rogers, who just entered the stream as well. Hello to you, Joe, and Eloise, of course. But for the most part, a lot of people know superheroes. A lot of people know the comics from the movies, so it might be a connection that way. But Court of Owls is still something that gets talked about now as well. So maybe there is something to that, to the Court of Owls. Another one of my runner-ups is the Matt Fraction Hawkeye. I see that get talked about in a lot of top 10 lists. We do know there's going to be a show out coming up, and if it's any good, maybe that'll have people go, hey, look over here, that's something to check out. Now, you wanted to bring up, and by all means, I'm going to tell you straight up, I have more respect for your list than I have for mine. So before we get into it, yeah. But remember, the only thing, man of action, it has to be from 2010 to 2019. That was where we're coming at from it.
Yeah, it's. I just wanted to mention, Venditti's Freedom Fighters. Again, I don't know who, in one respect of what are people going to be talking about, it's probably already fallen down the memory hole. But comic book readers, if they're still talking about great runs from the last 10 years, that will come up. Because
Freedom Fighters is so freaking good. It's one of those, as a critic, as somebody who goes on YouTube to talk about comics, it's one you just want to, why didn't you buy this? Why? I was telling you, you should have bought this. It is such an amazing story.
Yeah, from Hitler's son to the premise of what it is that what makes Uncle Sam appear, what brings him back.
Oh my gosh! In the scene when he pops back up, it's like, yes, America. Yes, it's really good.
It's sort of like the premise of Department of Truth, only in a more positive light.
Yeah, it really is, and it's the good guys. It's clear good guys versus bad guys, because it's basically superheroes versus the Nazis, and not the left, but the Nazis. Yeah. Hello to Man of Action, and Maranya's here. Classic Comics. If America by National Treasure Gabby Rivera isn't on the list, I call foul. However, she could be on this list. Just like Squirrel Girl, I can see a future where America Chavez is talked about a lot, and the one miniseries that started it off would be that Gabby Rivera series. But
as much as Chavez or we riot,
as much as we love it, that book, oh my gosh, it was not good. It just wasn't good. Happy birthday to Alan Moore. What is he, like 90? He's getting up there in years. Don't tell me he's 57. I don't want to hear that, because I think I know, right? Let's see. Gabby ate the list. Good to see everybody, says Maranya, and it is. So I'm very happy. I'm very excited to show this. One other one, by all means, let's keep going down your runner-up list so we could get some of these more respectable stories to talk about before we get to my crappy list.
Well, I said, we mentioned Court of Owls, Freedom Fighters, Batman White Knight. I said the rest of my list at this point is ones that I'm not saying they're better than the ones that are on the runners up list, because it's not truly a top 10, but they're ones I wanted to talk about because three of them kind of fit together in what may end up going down as like the greatest missed opportunity of these 10 years, and then the other two are, I said no brainers. So.
Okay. Well, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay.
I had to let Gail go.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. I was paying attention to her. Did you bring up the Spider-Man life stories?
Okay. We'll start with that.
Yeah.
Spider-Man life story. Chip Zdarsky took the concept of the history of Spider-Man, but he aged it in real time. Mm-hmm. So he took 6 issues, each representing a different decade. I thought the first 2 or 3 were the strongest because it featured a Peter Parker that was still young enough to be a superhero. I think it tailed off a little bit at the end. I think there was some forced editorial decisions in the last one by the characters that got some attention. Where in any of them, Miles Morales deserved to be, given that attention, but I can't remember who the other 2 were, but I think they were like Kamala Khan, and because I said they're going to make her a thing. But by and large, the some of the events that took place in that book, the way they were treated, it's just a brilliant series from Chip Zdarsky. I said the first 3 or 4 are phenomenal, and then the 5 and 6 are pretty darn good.
All righty. What else? What else do you have on your runner-up list? I just realized we're 10 minutes in on a live stream about a top 10. We haven't gotten to even our first choice.
That was my first choice.
Okay.
That is my.
Okay. My first choice is something that has kind of proven that people still talk about a little bit, but not as much as I think they will if the movie comes out, and that is Flashpoint. I think given a little bit of publicity, this is one that people will go, oh, okay, well, this is where it started off. Much like the Crisis was for us. I mean, obviously we were collecting pre-Crisis, but the Crisis was a start off point for us. And if you really want the greatest runs in comic books, bar none, start at Crisis, end right before Flashpoint, boom, done. Best of everybody. And I think Flashpoint's going to be that for the new generation of at least DC readers. And a lot of it might come from the Flash movie that'll come out. And you're going to notice a trend on where I'm getting what I think people are going to be talking about in just a little bit. I, in all honesty, have not yet read Flashpoint. The only thing I've ever done as far as that story is concerned is I watched the movie. Looked awesome. Can't wait to read it. I'll check it out someday, do a video on it. But yeah, I really do. I believe that's going to become a little bit more open and available to the public conscious, and that'll take over. What's your number 4?
Okay, my next 3, I'm going to do in order because of what they kind of fit together in an order. I'm going to go with the Rebirth special. And this was trying to repair damage done by the New 52, or as an effort to make the DC universe a more hopeful place again. And it's centered around Wally West trying to escape the Speed Force, where he had been forgotten by everybody, and he had to make contact with someone to escape the Force. He first tries with Batman and can't quite get Batman to remember. He tries with Linda Park, who can't remember him, and he feels like he's dying as he goes forward, as he can't break out. He eventually gets to Barry Allen, and Barry can't remember him, so he says his goodbyes as he's being sucked back in. He realizes, I don't think he has enough left to attempt anything beyond this. And at the last minute, Barry remembers and pulls him out of the Speed Force and back into their universe. And just the way that the way the entire book was set up, and there was so many things, so many other little things. Like they talk to Batman, and he's like got a bunch of Jokers on a monitor, and I think he's talking to Alfred, and he goes, so is it possible that there are 2 Jokers? And he goes, from what I understand, there are 3.
Yeah, so that was set up way at the beginning of Rebirth.
Exactly. So there were all kinds of, the kids call them Easter eggs, I believe, and they set up so many things that were really going to go forward and make this just what fans had been waiting. This was setting up a DC that we hadn't seen, I would say, since the late 80s and early 90s. I saw this. I said, "Wow, this is some really neat stuff." And you could, and I know there's still people that are always going to be salty about bringing the Watchmen mythos into the DC universe because the Button was in the Batcave. No one was quite sure why, but yeah, I'm kind of a different tact. If you can make it into an interesting story. No one owes Alan Moore to never touch his characters again, because if he'd had his way, they were going to be the Charlton heroes anyway. So,
That is true. That is true. So Man of Action is saying Marvel 2-in-1. That was a great run. That was a great run. And Tehillium saying, I hope Super Sons is on that list. Not on mine, but I do understand Super Sons is an amazing, amazing run. My number 2 is because we're going to get a TV show. And I think, once again, this is what you're noticing where I'm coming from here, Breen. And that's going to be The Vision. Now, for as much as we don't like Tom King now, when he first hit, he hit big and people were all over it. Vision is one of those stories that that got him on the map. The Omega Men, the Vision, that was what really led him into stardom. And with the TV show coming, I think that a lot of people are going to be interested and they're going to be reading it and they're going to be talking about it. And if it is as good as what we've heard and what some people have read, I think that will prove to stand the test of time, because already it has. I know a lot of people are willing to skip over that really bad Batman run to look at the Omega Men and look at the Vision, and with that extra boost of the TV show, I think it's going to stay in the public conscious.
I think you're right, and if the series is successful, it'll also bode well for the 12-issue miniseries from 35 years ago, because there's elements of the series that are taken from that as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're probably right about that.
And I haven't read it yet. That's on my board. That's one of the videos I'm going to be making when I do my series of Was Tom King Ever That Good? Man of Action saying, oh no, I thought it was brilliant. My biggest issue with it is they didn't follow through with the Watchmen premise. And Moran saying, why does classic comic book depend upon whether or not it'll be made into a movie or TV property? That's not what we're counting down. We're counting down which one of these are going to be talked about. Which of these books are going to be talked about going what is the Watchmen of our era? And I was going to bring this up towards the end, but I guess right now you could see where I'm coming from. Right now, as far as the books that are going up in value, as far as what the mainstream public is seeing, they're not going into the comic shops. They're not going to the 7-Eleven, seeing it on the rack, and they're not going to the bookstores and saying, oh, wow, okay, I'll try this new thing out. They're seeing it on the movies. They're seeing it on the TV screen, and they're going, hey, I'm going to check that out. And I think that that's what keeps it in the public conscious. And I think that's what's going to make, that's what's going to keep these books alive. So I've got one though, that I straight up have on this list due to narrative. And it's my number 1 book. And Eric does not know what it is.
Well, so the one way to look at it is that is our list, divert or go off into different directions. Mm-hmm. It becomes pretty obvious. One of us has a movie channel. And one of us does not.
Dude, I have the Extreme Movie Channel. So I have all the subscription services watching all of the things.
He's serving more than one master tonight.
Oh, I guess so. I didn't even know that but I really thought because that was the question you asked. What are the books people are going to be talking about? Not just what are the best comics, because if we're talking about the best comics, Invaders, Freedom Fighters, as you said, would be on the list. Shirtless Bear Fighter would be on the list. The Black Magic would have to be there. There's so many others that I think will just end up getting buried that I think deserves it. But what are people going to be talking about? I don't know. What's your next choice? What's your number 3?
Okay. Next up would be The Button. It was Batman 2122 and The Flash 2122. This was also this was kind of a follow-up to the Rebirth special, where they planted more seeds for what was going to become Doomsday Clock, where Eobard Thawne was running through time. And it starts with Batman talking to the Flash saying, I need you here. And he goes, give me a minute. Well, right at the beginning of that minute, Eobard Thawne shows up in the cave. and starts beating the hell out of Batman, and he has to figure out how to stay alive for 60 seconds before Flash can get there. He ends up being a couple seconds late, and Batman has to pull some rabbits out of his hat to survive that. But as the story progresses, they're basically running through time and different Earths, and they end up on the post-Flashpoint Earth where Bruce meets Thomas Wayne, and they defeat Thawne, and Flash Bruce wants Batman, or wants his father to come with him, but he refuses to, and he ends up that universe ends up disappearing. But there are also more hints about the button, and there's a part in there where the Jay Garrick Flash appears for just a brief moment, and then gets sucked back into, I guess, the Speed Force, because we don't end up seeing him for a few years after that. But it planted a lot of seeds for Doomsday Clock that I don't think any of them were ever really realized, because of decisions made at the top of the company involving the three-worded. But I thought it was. I don't know if people will talk about this 10 years from now, but it was a very good 4-parter, and it did have a little bit of Tom King being Tom King when Bruce tells his dad that he has a son now. His dad says, "Don't be Batman, be a father, because you've done your job." Well, if he felt like that, he should have come through the portal with Flash and Barry, and he could have taken over as Batman. But I digress. But
we know what happened when that did happen.
But that little bit notwithstanding, I thought it was a very good story, and it should have gone somewhere more than
okay. My number 3, however, it's a good story. You're going to agree with this one. All right. Warren Ellis's run on Moon Knight. There's, like I said, I think this is going to be talked about. They've got a show coming up, and I think that's going to keep it in public conscious, because I hear they're going to be following the whole multi-personality thing that went on in that series, and it really hit. This is kind of a Legion sort of story where it's just it's almost surreal. And I think it was an amazing series, an amazing story. I recommend it to everybody, by the way. And this is my fingers crossed. I would love to see this get more attention. And if it does, I think as people, more people know about it, as more people are introduced to it, I think it will gain that kind of status. Once again, this may be my wishful thinking, but I'll put Warren Ellis's Moon Knight on this one. I think that one's going to be there. Amazing run. Did you read it?
I did not.
You're missing out on that one. I know I've got a couple I need to visit. I would recommend that to you.
How long did it last? And
I think it was about. I think it was about 17, 18ish. I remember those numbers, but it was a couple of just a few years ago. Yeah, right before Max Bemis did his run.
Okay.
Good stuff, though. Good stuff. If you read the credits, King only wrote the first issue. Williamson did part 3, says Luke Johnson.
I know Williamson wrote the 2 Flash issues, and I know King at least wrote parts of the Batmans. But like I said, but that was back when King's writing wasn't a detriment. I mean, I'll still go to bat for the first. Until Batman and Joker went to church together, I'll back King's run.
There's the thing. I've actually said in the first 50 issues, Tom King's Batman was hit and miss. I liked War of Jokes and Riddles. There were some not quite so much, and yeah, it was a little bit back and forth. He set Moon up for Bemis to destroy his work. So that's Man of Action. Comic Cork saying Jeff Lemire is the story they're going after. I think that's what you're talking about. Maybe I have it wrong, but thank you very much, Comic Corks. But I still think it's I just would love to see that get the recognition it deserves. How about you? What's your number 2?
Okay, but now, of course, we can't. It's easy given what King morphed the title into.
Yeah.
When you go back and reread the early ones, it's a lot easier to see where the cracks were starting. But before that, it seemed like, okay, this is a very interesting take on the character that's kind of been diluted by what it became.
If anything, as far as Tom King's Batman, you have to give him credit for bringing attention to and putting into the public light Kite Man. The man's even on a cartoon now. So give Tom King proper credit, ladies and gentlemen. Kite Man is now a little bit popular because of Tom King's run. So there you go. What's your number 2?
All right, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna bring visual aids to this one.
Woo! This is, by the way,
story called Declaration, Superman 27 and 28, written by Peter J. Tomasi. This is the Kent family going on a vacation. Lois rents an RV, and before they even get out the door, you just see and to William, I hope you're still listening. I unfortunately did not have Super Sons on this list, but here's why it should have been. Jonathan Kent, when he's exploring the RV, he's like any 10-year-old. There's a TV. There's a refrigerator. We can fill it full of iced tea and Hot Pockets. And when they draw them in the panels, there's 3 of them in the stop motion thing.
You just turned Jonathan Kent into a 50-year-old man. Iced tea and Hot Pockets.
Well, he said it, and that's the line.
Okay,
but no, kids like Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
And then they go visit various historical sites, and basically, Jonathan's parents are teaching him what it means to be a proud American. And they go into a diner where a homeless vet in a wheelchair is being treated poorly by the people that run the diner, and Clark says, you've got pictures of movie stars and this and this that have never really contributed anything of real value, when you've got someone like him who fought for his country, went overseas, and came back without his limbs. That there's something not right about that. And they invite him to stay for dinner with them, or for lunch, whichever meal was. And then the diner owners realize what they've done and offer him a job. Then they go on to various historical artifacts, and they teach Jonathan so much in these 2 issues. Now there's the second issue. You could say this is kind of sappy, but it kind of fit the story. They come across a family having a picnic, and they do this every year near the site where one of their ancestors fought and died in the Civil War. And his body was never found because there was flooding. He was flooded out of the Army hospital he was recovering in. And that night, Lois and Clark are in bed. Clark sits up, and Lois says, I can't believe it took you this long. And he goes and finds what's the remains of the soldier and their family member, wraps it in an American flag, and takes it to their doorstep and says, it's been long enough. Take him home. And if you can't, like I said, if that doesn't move you, then you're in the wrong hobby.
I did a video on these 2 issues. This was at the height, by the way, of America Sucks in comics.
Yeah.
Not America Chavez. She never has. But this, at every turn, we were seeing how much comic book writers and editors, and they just didn't seem to like this country. And you can see it even now. It's amazing to me, the attitude. So when these 2 issues dropped, it was like a lead weight that actually lifted a whole bunch of stuff off of us as fans, as people who love our country and love the hobby. I was very happy and very proud to do those videos. I consider them 2 of my best, so by all means, please check them out.
Well, real quick, the comic book press, like CBR in particular, have a 10-point system. Mm-hmm. They gave these 3.5s.
Yep.
And what they criticized was the patriotism, as they were giving 9s to America, Squirrel Girl,
Iceman.
Iceman. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
which is horrible, horrible, horrible. And here's the thing. And Jimmy, I want you to calm down here. I want you to calm down. Don't get overexcited, okay? I know Comic Quirks, you're listening in. Don't blow a gasket on this one. My number two that I think is going to be talked about in 10 years is Jason Aaron's run on Thor with Lady Thor. Once again, this is not a run that I particularly enjoyed, but that wasn't the question that was put ahead for us. You're very correct. You and I did approach this in two different ways. I took your question literally and thought, what are the things people that are going to be talking about? You went, what are the best stories of the decade? I wish I went your direction, because like I said, I have far more respect for the books you're pulling up than the ones I chose. But the thing is we are going to get if not a series of advertisements for this run. I'll say that rather than movies or TV shows. That being said, there's also already a huge fan base for the Jason Aaron run on Thor. Whether you liked it or not, whether I liked it or not, there are a lot of comic quirks in the world that think that Jason Aaron just nailed it out of the park.
He's a huge fan base by himself.
Yeah, there you go, with Lady Jane, which I think is a perfectly good name. They didn't have to. In all honesty, one of my only complaints about the book was the name. You know, and I thought Lady Jane would have been a great name for itself. That and the fact that they killed her. Oh, she's gonna die for 30 seconds. I mean, there's people right now that are being revived by the paramedics that are doing that. This is no big deal. So there was a bit of bait and switch going on with the story, but I think, in all honesty, I just think this is going to be one. I think also, and I'm gonna lose some subs for this one. I think that even cynical people like myself and you are going to revisit and find out that it's not as bad as we thought, because the big argument was over the name, not necessarily the story. So much like the New 52, where you and I are going back and going, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Okay, you and your crisis killing timeline, Flashpoint, maybe the New 52 isn't that bad. I think maybe it's possible that we go back and we say that's not going to happen for War of Realms. You got it, Quirks. That still sucks,
and that ain't going to happen with the fight between Lady Thor and Titania, whoever it was, when she let her win because sisters.
Yeah, but Jerry Smith, Worship Before the Lesbian Thor. Remember, it's a title, not a name. I hate that whole premise of these superheroes are titles, not names. What that turns it out to be is, it doesn't matter who's in the costume. It just matters the costume. And that should never be. Slap a freaking A on Falcon's chest all you want. He should never be as charismatic as Steve Rogers. Sorry, guys. You're just diluting your other one. So, agreed. Calling Jane Thor was disrespectful. Squirrel Girl ain't no classic bub, says Dragon Ball Talk. That wasn't the question put to me, so that's not the question I answered. So there you go. What's your number two?
And remember, one time Luke Cage, as he was beating the hell out of Eric Jostin, said, "You can stick a flag in your navel and call yourself the Spirit of 76 for all I care, but don't you ever call yourself Power Man again." Sometimes a title is more than a title.
Yes.
My next one, it's going to come as a surprise to absolutely nobody. Hawkman. In particular, the first 12 issues. Thank you for the golf clap.
I am doing the movie slow clap, sir.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
What can be said that hasn't already been said? The idea of the idea of putting all of his past lives together and finding out all the people he's been before, why he continued to get reincarnated, finding out that he was basically the worst villain who had ever lived, and then had to atone for it by saving as many lives as he had taken. And the idea of finding a way to summon all those past lives together to help him fight the resurrected Deathbringers. That was just an amazing concept. And it's almost like a couple of things I said, when I read this, I thought, holy crap, this must have been Venditti's favorite book his whole life. And he finally got to tell the story he wanted. Turns out he didn't know anything about Hawkman when he took the assignment.
Wow. That's just even more amazing.
I know.
It's, we've both been praising Venditti's run on Hawkman. It's one of the best things that has been created in the 2010s, and the whole 29 issue run. Yeah. Now you're mentioning especially those first 12 issues, and I agree with you, because that is the one that takes that convoluted mess that is Hawkman's history. Well, wait a second. I thought he was an archaeologist. No, he's a space cop. Wait a second. He's an armored space cop now. Holy crap. What are you talking about with it? And it just, there were so many different versions of Hawkman as they rebooted. It wasn't like Superman remained Superman, but maybe his power levels changed, or, they got rid of super ventriloquism, the Batman remained Batman, that you still had those central things, but every time they rebooted Hawkman, it seemed like, okay, let's make him different. Something's going to stick, guys. And finally, Venditti comes along, doesn't throw anything out, instead brings it all in and says, this is what we're doing.
Here's how insane Hawkman's continuity has been through the years. Zero Hour was supposed to fix Hawkman's continuity. He's been changed more times than a child's diaper. Yet his origin didn't change in the Crisis. It just picked up where Shadow War of Hawkman and that special into the next Isabella series. Yet it was still the most convoluted continuity of any DC character. But like I said, and in the middle of the run, he gets saddled with Year of the Villain, which drug on, I think there's 8 or 9 issues of that book that are directly tied to that. He found a way to, I don't know if he had any say in what his, the 6 guys the 6 characters that became the whatever they were in Year of the Villain, which became the Sky Tyrant. The way he managed to work that into the story and bring back Hawkwoman, et cetera, with Adam Strange's help and whatnot. And then the last story arc was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Given the one last life, and then we find out, spoiler, I was going to say, if you haven't read it yet, but let's be honest, no one was reading it. That was a heck of a last life.
Just you and me, man. And especially, well, apparently Jerry was Hawkman, one of the few characters who rose to their potential at DC, and I'll miss that book. Let's see, Man of Action. I mean, look at these guys. They don't even know who they're writing half of the time and keep cranking out black lesbian archetypes to fill the gaps, then pat themselves on the head. Unfortunately, Man of Action, he's right in a way. They care more about the demographic of a character than who they are, what is their motivation, everything that would actually make us care. They care just about the aesthetic, and they don't even change the aesthetic very much. They just grab their crayon and change to a different color, and boom, there you go. Falcon should never be Captain America, even if he puts on the outfit. I don't see why he would. He spent in our time, he spent at that point 50 years building the Falcon name. In their time, probably about 10. So why would he go, hey, all right, I get to be Captain America, and it's a promotion? And that's the thing that always really bothered me, because they do that in the name of anti-racism, that they're going to put Falcon as a Captain America character, but then they act like it's a promotion for him to take the name of his white partner. And think about that, guys. Let's see. Man of Action says that took Hawkman to the next level. That was a worthy DC book. And Maranya is well actualing me, saying, so red and blue electric Superman doesn't count as drastic change to the character. I stand corrected. So I want you to do your number one, because I did pick a narrative number one. It doesn't have anything to do with movies.
I did.
But that was your number one, Hawkman?
Yeah.
All righty. My number one book that we'll still be talking about, because if anybody is not going to let this book die, it's going to be me. No, I'm going to even let you guess. What is the one freaking story that everybody still talks about from the 2010s that will get me freaking ranting every goddamn time because they made fucking Captain America into a damn Nazi? And that's Secret Empire, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that shit's going away, oh no, no way. I just can't see it, especially the way they are right now. What we know for a freaking fact is Ta-Nehisi Coates hasn't written Captain America. Mark Waid didn't write Captain America. Before that, we got Captain America, the freaking Nazi. No, that's not dying. People are going to be talking about that shit for decades. Hey, you remember the time that they made Captain America a Nazi? Yeah, that really sucked, didn't it? Yeah, but wow, was that movie good? Suck balls.
Did I miss the Nazi movie?
They're gonna make it, brain, and they're gonna have him have orange hair and a spray-on tan when he's sitting there. No freaking way is Secret Empire dying. I can't see it.
Can you at least be a non-binary Nazi?
Huh?
Non-binary Nazi,
right? I, in all honesty, of all the books we talked about, I could see everything falling by the wayside. But we'll still be talking about the time they made Captain America. And I understand. Usually when we do these lists, it's all about the good. Oh wow, I love that book. Dan Abnett's run on Aquaman is one of the best runs of all freaking time, and I am so proud. The fact that I had so many people tell me that they tried that title because of how much I praised it. And thank you very much for trusting me to do that. And everybody who, oh my gosh, you're right. That's great. It's excellent. It's a really good run. One of the best things. Unfortunately, I don't see it. I don't see it being something that people are going to be talking about. That being said, I think people are going to be talking about Secret Empire. I think they're going to be talking about that goddamn character called Barf. Barf, ladies and gentlemen, will be talked about more than Dan Abnett. Dan Abnett's run on fucking Aquaman, or even Peter J. Tomasi's run on Super Sons, which is a freaking amazing thing. I hope that is put into the public conscious seriously. But I think part of the problem about the Super Sons becoming anything further down the line is Brian Michael Bendis. He came and he destroyed them.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Unless you'd like some more quality rant time.
No, I'm okay.
Do you need to catch your breath?
There you go.
Take a drink.
Secret Empire blew chunks, okay? But it will be talked about long after we're gone.
Something I meant to mention when I was talking about Declaration is anybody that can look someone else in the eye and say, yes, Clark, Lois, and Jonathan are better under Bendis than they were in this story needs to be drug tested.
Honestly, yes. He managed to divide the family. He managed to split them off. One list. By the way, also, guys, before we continue, and I should have said this before the number ones, but please share the channel out. We're going to be doing more of these. And if you have an idea for a topic, put it in the comment section when this is posted. I've got a list of topics, but one of the things I also want to talk about is 5 ways that they are ruining Superman and 5 ways that they're ruining Batman in DC Comics. Because I think both characters, as much as I'm enjoying the Tinian run, I'm thinking they're messing those up. They're messing him up as well. So we definitely, please give us some ideas if you want us to do these top 10s. As you can see, we don't talk about it, so we're not sharing it beforehand. except to say this is what I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm going to talk about. So we can come at these in a little bit different style. Obviously, I took your idea to heart and literally. So let's see, top 10 standalone graphic novels. Oh, you know what? I saw somebody do a list of this and it bothered me because they showed The Watchmen and then they showed V for Vendetta. And I'm like, no, freaking no. What is wrong with people here that they don't know the terminology, especially if you have a YouTube channel? Watchmen is a trade paperback, ladies and gentlemen. Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Street, that is a standalone graphic novel. A trade paperback is a collection of previously published comic books. A standalone graphic novel would be like The Death of Captain Marvel. It is its own issue. It was made to be a graphic novel. And I see so many people who tout themselves as pros, or they've got themselves even much larger, much more popular channel than my own, get that wrong all the time. And it bothers me every time. Hey, we're going to put The Watchmen at the #1 of all these graphic novels, but it's not a freaking graphic novel. It's a trade paperback.
It's Jimmy. Okay, top 10 trade paperback. Okay.
Oh, no, I could do the standalone graphic novels too.
Now, let me ask you a question, man of many channels.
Okay.
What do you consider something like Gotham by Gaslight?
Gotham by Gaslight's prestige format single issue.
Okay, but if they printed it 2 inches bigger, does it become a graphic novel?
If they released it as a graphic novel, yeah, but it was literally released as a prestige format.
Well, no, I obviously I know that, but yeah. The story would have. I said if it had been released, they said in a bookshelf size hardcover, something like that, with the exact same story, it would function as a graphic novel. So, do you make allowances for that, or does it have to have been? Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a prestige format, but it's also, like I said, it's a lot of the same amount of pages as a graphic novel.
I don't know. Is a street light a lamp?
That's a gaslight.
No, well, we don't use gas lights anymore.
See what I did there?
Yeah, but I get what you're going for. And hold on just a second. Entertain the troops. I'll be back in just a moment.
All right. Now we've gotten the old man out. Oh, no, the young man out of the way. Let's see what we got here. His egos to get something to prove me wrong. Standalone graphic novel. Try the She-Hulk, Iron Man 2020, original, Death of Captain Marvel, Emperor Doom. All fantastic.
This originally was released as a prestige format single issue. Now it's got Master of the Future. What was that called? And they put it together. Now it's a trade paperback. See, yeah. And it is literally only slightly thicker. It's just 2 issues, and yeah. So I maybe I'm being a stickler for this. Please, by all means.
I'm not arguing for that. I was soliciting your opinion.
Yeah, if you're in the chat, what do you think? Am I being too much of a stickler for the rules on this one? Yeah, Master of the Future. This is basically what that animated movie was based on. TITO'S, leave her alone. He's being a pain in the butt over there. But yeah, let's see. It makes you go back to the books. Watchmen is word heavy. Standalone graphic novel. Try the She-Hulk. Iron Man 2020 original. The Death of Captain Marvel, Emperor Doom. Yeah, those are graphic novels. Joe Rogers, to be fair, a lot of younger fans probably only know it as a graphic novel. I know. That's true. It's just like the terminology right out. People are wrapped around Watchmen. They forget about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Good trade paperback. Hey, Roberts, what's up? The graphic novel argument. That's tricky, says Undead Quinn. I never liked Gaslight, says Dragon Ball. Who broke what rules now? Jimmy Corks, I said, if you guys have an idea for a top 10 for me and Breen to do, please leave it in the comment section. Not the chat because it's going to get buried, but the comment section. And he mentioned standalone graphic novel, and that got me thinking. I saw some guy, he was doing a list of standalone graphic novels, and he mentioned Watchmen and V for Vendetta, which are trade paperbacks, not standalone graphic novels.
Oh, sir, I just checked. Everybody has gotten off your lawn.
There you go. Okay, so I rant occasionally. On occasion, I rant. Gaslight wasn't memorable, good, but not knock your socks off, says Man of Action. I can see that. Hey, there's a top 10 that we could do. Top 10 Elseworlds and top 10 What Ifs. I think those would be two really good lists, especially if we do you a favor and keep it to the original 1970s What If run.
Yeah, because I could have held up my end of the Elseworlds before I sold my collection, but since I don't have any comicsologies or anything like that, my remembrance of the Elseworlds stories is spotty at best.
Right off the top of my head, Elseworld stories. So what is it? Speeding Bullets, In Blackest Night, Red Sun. Those three would definitely be on my in my top 5. Those are really good.
Is that the one where Bruce was?
No, it was Superman's rocket fell in the backyard of the Waynes. So they raised them. Yeah. You have the What If run. Hell yeah. Actually, I managed to find all of the graphic novels or the trade paper. I did it. Oh my gosh, I did it. I found all the trade paperbacks. So I've got the entire run. I'm very happy about that. Was a great find. God bless Ollie's. Yeah.
As Jerry can attest to, it'd be nice if we still had one.
Yeah, that Batman behind me right there, that's the War Stories. I got that one there as well. They had some good books over at mine. Top 10 character defining storylines as an example, Demon and Bottle as far as Iron Man. Born Again for Daredevil, I would say that that's a character definer in my opinion. But yeah, I can see that. That's pretty good.
That would be one that would take some time and some research to do that one justice.
But yes, I want to revive this and going to try to do this every Wednesday. So we're going to try to do it as a live stream. Super chats are accepted. But if we can't make it, we'll make sure that at least there's a video on Wednesday for you guys.
And we may try to do this a little earlier so Grandpa Frugal can join us on occasion.
Yep. Definitely. He's the Avengers guy, so I want him to join us for that one because we were talking about the best Avengers stories. So yeah, I'm very excited, and this was a lot of fun. I had a good time with this list. I took it in a completely different direction than you did, though. You mentioned what are we still going to be talking about in 10 years? So I thought, okay, what are people going to be talking about? And then I had to think about, wait a second, and here's something, man. I am getting to grow less and less respectful towards the speculation crowd. I'm in this comment on Facebook. There's this comic book collection thing. And they started talking about Darkhawk and about, woo, I can't believe it. I had like 15 books I found in my quarter bin over there because nobody cared about Darkhawk. And then, yeah, isn't it great? And then they started talking about how, now let's make Sleepwalker. That was his name, right? Sleepwalker popular. This is next, guys. Let's promote that. And I told him, I said, you guys do realize that you're flipping them to each other until you lose interest and then you stop off, right? That's what's going on. One guy, and I said, this isn't there's no sustainability here. It's not like it was done narratively. People aren't interested because these books are good. They're interested because you guys at Speculators said, this is the next book to speculate upon. And if you're going out and spending $20 on it, you're wasting your money because you're going to sell it for $21 to some next guy. And it's like a game of hot potato right now. The whole speculator market is a game of hot potato where they, okay, I'll spend 5. No, I'll spend 7. Whoa, I'll spend 10. I'll spend 15. Oh, maybe I could sell it for 20. Anybody want to spend $20 on Sleepwalker #1? You know, he's going to be in a TV show.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 10, 20 years, and the only one from the last 10 years that probably can still bring its value is whatever issue of Teen Titans had the first Batman Who Lols.
Yeah. Well, Kamala Khan, in all honesty, she became popular before the announcement of the movie. I think that's one that's going to have sustainability.
You really think that that first issue is still going to be worth triple figures down the road?
Oh, it might not be worth triple. Yeah, I think it will. It might not blow up, but I think it's going to, as the movie gets closer, I think the speculators are going to hit it. And then when it dies down, I think it's going to die down back to about $100. But yeah, she is not to us. I get it. Not to us, but to the outside world, she's a popular character. So.
Well, she's popular everywhere, but within the pages of her own comic book.
Right. Yeah. But that's
in video games.
One of the things, though, that makes this so easy is that we're living in a time now. It's not like in the 1980s and 1990s where there's a bajillion copies of any comic being sold. So if you say, well, I want that first issue of Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur, there's not that many copies of it. So you've got, 1,000 people going after 300 copies.
Well, that's true. I said, and Jerry and I used to have this conversation where I would argue that if comic books ever had a resurgence, there would be so many books that were going to be worth money because the print runs are so low. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the popularity of comics just kept getting worse, diminished by the fact that the content, by and large, just kept getting worse. Yeah. And now it didn't happen. I mean, I can remember when one of the places I go to, they went from $1 to 50 cents. Finally, they just went to a dime, and it was still filled with Marvel comics from the last 5 years, and they couldn't get rid of them at a dime.
So I'm writing some of these things down. Standalone graphic novels. Let's see. Best trade paperbacks, really just like saying best storyline.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got top 10 Conan graphic novels. That might actually take some reading.
Yeah, you're gonna need a guest co-host for that.
Yeah, these
maybe 2.
I'll write them down, but we'll see if we can't get them to. Let's see, what else did we have? Top 10 character defining storylines.
We went top 10 Christmas stories.
That was going to happen anyway, because I like doing on Old Man Comics. I kind of missed it on Halloween, but I don't know if you guys remember, but I used to do 8 or 10 Christmas comics during the year where I would just kind of basically make fun of them or do little reviews of them and so forth. By the way, guys, watch that Superman beating the shit out of that got so few views. That was so disheartening. I love that comic book, and I like that video I made. It's kind of funny where I'll go, oh yes, I'm so proud of this video, and it's like, eh.
You talking about the Santa one?
Yeah, Santa's too fat to fit down the chimney. So Superman says, I'm going to help you lose weight. And he does things that really looks like Superman's trying to kill him. At one point, he throws him into a live volcano. So it's just that kind of thing. And this goes along with Maranya's choice of silliest Silver Age moments.
Well, that's funny. Yeah, I said we were talking about that particular video before we went on. And he did that about 3 or 4 months after I started watching this stuff, and I actually sent him a comment that I like that video so much that he screen capped my comment and posted it on Twitter, and said something like, "Yeah, this is kind of why I do this stuff, or for reactions like this." Now, if he'd known he was going to be stuck with me years later, he might have done that differently. But
yeah,
it was a great video, and I definitely recommend it.
10 most literary comics. That is one of those where if you're not talking about the rules beforehand, you can come at it by 2 different ways. And there we go.
Boy, that reeks of Dalton.
I think it could be fun, but yeah, I'm writing down topics anytime we have. But we're going to be coming up. Rob, nah, I'm good. Top 10 Greek pantheon or derivative stories. I still want to actually get clicks, by the way. So top 10 things nobody ever cared about ever is, top 10 Greek pantheon or derivative stories. Actually, that's not too hard to find, because I guess because people can take, older stories and they just put the new characters in and throw them out. That happens all the time. So that would be something to do. And Dragon Ball saying top 10 Man-Thing stories. Nobody cares about Man-Thing. They care about saying, oh, look, Englantine's selling his Man-Thing again. That's about as much fun. We get more fun out of just saying the name Man-Thing than we do actually reading.
But Gale won't let him sell his giant-size Man-Thing at any price.
Oh, if only. But there you go. I'm hoping. I hope you guys enjoy this kind of stuff. Top 10 worst stories from Tehillium. Oh, top 10 worst stories. Tehillium suggested it. Yeah.
I have a feeling that somebody would be well represented on that.
I like stuff like I would take that, but I would have to twist it. Top 10 great bad stories, which I think we did with Howler Mouse, which is top 10 good stories or bad stories by good writers.
Yeah.
So, you put a little twist on it, because it's easy to go, okay, well, yes, of course, America Chavez. We get it. It's a bad story. It's epic. It's so epically bad, it's good. It's the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes of comic books. It's the Plan 9 from Outer Space of comic books. It's just that bad. It's so bad it's fun. Any comic book that has that has America Chavez flying off with her girlfriend, as Hawkeye literally says she wishes she could be a lesbian because only lesbians feel true love.
And don't forget, as she was saying, if this is what it's like for women dating women, then I applaud all women dating women. As the woman, as the girl America Chavez has gone off with, is injecting her with a knockout drug to take her to an illegal fight club. And without a trace of irony. Oh, that's just good stuff. If this is what it's like when Gabby Rivera's writing comics, then I applaud all Gabby Rivera.
One of my favorite scenes in that same issue, by the way, and yes, you can find those videos here. I think this is America Chavez issue 5. There's a scene where the bad guys are trying to stop America and Hawkeye, and they're driving along in their convertible, and the bad guys are tooling up. So Hawkeye grabs her bow, and she's standing on the trunk. But then at one point, you see her jump up, and she's shooting her bow into a motorcycle tire. Like, physics, yo, you're dead. Because if she jumps up, that car keeps going. I'm sorry, guys, but she's about to hit that ground at 55 miles an hour wearing nothing but freaking Lycra. It's not going to be good for her. It's such a stupid book. I love that. I love that comic, man. Yeah. But there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. You got anything else to add to this, or?
Nah, not really.
All right, we're going to be doing more stuff like this anyway. And I certainly appreciate you guys kicking back with us, listening to us talk about the top 10 destined to be classics, top 10 comic books destined to be classics. The whole thing was based around what stories do you think we will be talking about, and that's why my list was the way it was. I've got so much more respect for your list. All right, gang, once again, thank you very much for hanging out with us. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Enjoy.
Good night, kids.
Good times. And it's taken forever again.